All right, now to our next guest. Throughout modern history, queer people have been represented in the media in all sorts of ways, sometimes in ways you might not even have known. In his new book, Hi Honey, I'm Homo, author Matt Baume takes a closer look at sitcoms and specials and the basic queering of American culture. Matt joins me now. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
So let's talk about this. What inspired you to write a book on this topic?
Well, the short answer is I just love television.
So,
you know, I feel like I'm hanging out with my friends when I'm watching the Golden Girls or Cheers or Will and Grace or whatever. But as I started to watch more television over the years, I could see there's this story that's being told that one show picks up and then another one picks it up and another over the years. And I recognized from all the activism that I've done in my life for queer liberation that the story of LGBTQ people's lives are playing out on sitcoms over the decades.
And we've seen it, but we, like you said, may not have known it. So let's go through some of the best queer moments in sitcom history. We'll start with Beverly LaSalle in All in the Family.
Just an amazing character. This is at a time when you just did not see queer people on television, certainly not in a good context.
Right.
You know. But then All in the Family, Norman Lear's show, puts this character on the air who is, she has depth, she has heart, the characters grow to love her. It's this wonderful depiction, and for a lot of viewers, the first queer person, openly queer person, they realized that they had ever seen.
Right, and made them human.
Yeah.
And loved. And let's move on to Jody on Soap.
Yeah, Soap was going to be such a controversial show before it even aired. When queer people heard that there was going to be a gay character, they were up in arms. When conservatives heard about that, they were up in arms from the other direction.
Wow.
And so finally the show airs and we see Billy Crystal, then a relatively unknown comedian, playing a character with a lot of depth and, again, heart. And he becomes a parent, a queer person co-parenting a child.
It's incredible when you talk about this narrative throughout. One of my favorite moments on television is something that you mentioned in the book. It's on Golden Girls when Sophia, the grandmother, and I think I love it because I also had a Sicilian grandmother, she explains gay marriage so beautifully.
Yeah, and Estelle Getty, the actress, was such a huge ally in her life. This episode of the Golden Girls tackles same-sex marriage at a time when very few people were even thinking about that as an issue. And she makes it make sense by just saying to Blanche, who doesn't understand it, well, why did you get married? And Blanche realizes that we all just want someone to grow old with, and everyone should have that choice. It's that chance. It's a beautiful sentiment.
It was a beautiful sentiment. And Golden Girls actually did a lot when it came to LGBTQ, everything. They spoke about it a lot. They spoke about a lot of things, which I thought was really so important for the day. It was very ahead of its time. One moment that I think everyone remembers is the moment that Ellen came out on her show.
Yeah, boy, if you were alive back then, you just remember where you were. Such a historic moment. I was sitting at home, I was home alone, and when she said those words, I'm gay, I remember standing up and sitting down, standing up and sitting, like I flew out of my chair. It was so exciting.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That really helped me come out, because I was a teenager when that happened. And
I
didn't know how to say those words, and seeing someone on TV do it made me say, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe it'll go like this for me.
It's so funny because it happened, what, 20 years ago? But I still have the chills when I remember it as well. Later, a couple years later, Will and Grace is on TV, and there's the first same-sex kiss that I think a lot of people had ever seen. Yeah.
And what's so funny is the episode of Will and Grace with the kiss is sort of a meta episode where the characters are angry at the on-show NBC, the in-world NBC, which had chickened out from showing a kiss, something that had happened in real life many, many times. And so they go to NBC to complain, and eventually stage a sort of like impromptu protest where they get a kiss on the NBC of the world, and that means the NBC of our lives as well.
Right. That was very deep.
Yeah.
You say that there was also queer subtext hidden in plain sight in shows like Bewitched. Please, that is what I went, really? Tell me more.
Yeah, you might not think so, because Bewitched is a show about a man and a woman.
A housewife who is a witch who has to hide her true self for her husband.
Yeah, it's a show about keeping secrets, blending in the suburbs. And an early episode of that show is about the witches trying to decide, should we come out and tell people we're witches? Maybe it's not safe for us to do that. That's happening at the same time as the first public queer protests in American history.
Really? See, I never made that connection. Of course, it was, this is what we were watching on Nick at Night. But it is important to see that. And I always did feel that it did bother me that she had to hide who she was for so long, but then she had a daughter who was also like that. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was going to be Jodie Foster was going to play that character.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Why is comedy a particularly effective way to counteract bigotry and ignorance?
Yeah, so it's like an intravenous. That's something that Norman Lear has said. He very kindly spoke to me for my book about the making of some of his groundbreaking shows, and he describes comedy as an intravenous that gets a message into an audience when they might not be receptive to it directly. But if you're laughing, you're having a good time, you're hanging out with your friends, Edith and Archie, or the Golden Girls, or Will and Grace, or whoever, it feels like you're just spending time with people you like, laughing, and that really smooths over new ideas, meeting new people, considering people, as whole people rather than the bigotry or the lies or the intolerant things that you might have heard somewhere else.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Hi, Honey, I'm Homo is the book. Go check it out right now because it is truly a delightful read and will probably inspire your watch list as well. Thank you.
Thank you.